Hello and welcome back to another episode of 4th and 30 Podcast. As always, we appreciate everyone tuning in. You can see Carl's not here with us today. Scheduling conflict kept him out, so we did invite a fourth. Our fourth tonight is T. We met him on TikTok. Welcome aboard, T.
Hey man, thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Pleasure to talk sports. And those who are listening, y'all can always tune in to my personal content as well. I'm on TikTok, as previously just mentioned, at LastWord_Productions. I'm on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, whatever y'all want to find me at. I'll be there.
All right, as I said, welcome aboard, T. We got a good episode tonight scheduled for you. Let's start with recapping Week 5 of the NFL. Kyler, what do you have from Cody, what do you have from Week 5 of the NFL?
Well, I know this is something that's been talked out already in the media, but I just wanted to make sure we hit on it, and that's the whole John Gruden thing that went down after Week 5. He had the racist comment come out. That was before the game Sunday, right? And then they played.
It was
played
on
the game
Friday, I believe.
Yeah.
They played Sunday, and then it all came out Monday or Tuesday about all the other stuff in the emails, whether it was misogyny, homophobic, and the stuff with the cheerleaders too. So just addressing that, I think the Raiders made the right move. They made a smart, quick move. They were going to let him roll with the one mistake, I think, for a little while, maybe some punishment in there. But when all the rest of it came out, it was too much to overcome. And they went ahead and he resigned ahead of time, but the Raiders were going to fire him, which is the right move. It maybe saves a little face for him, despite what he said, by going ahead and stepping down and not making the Raiders fire him, which they were going to do. So it's just one of those things, though. There's just no place for it in sports, and the NFL is taking big steps along with the NBA. The NBA is kind of leading the forefront in equality and for men and women and all races, and everyone's included, which is what sports needs. And it was good to see the NFL just quickly squash it, or they were going to if Gruden didn't do it himself.
Yeah, I agree.
I think that the report came out in the media on Friday. I think the NFL was still doing their investigation. That's why you saw him continue to be on the sideline Sunday. But for the Raiders, you have to kind of wonder how much of a distraction that was, because for an offense that was pretty good all year, came out and kind of laid an egg, albeit it was against a good Chicago Bears defense. But you have to wonder how much of a distraction that was and how much of a distraction it's going to be moving forward for him. A tough blow to a team that really had a chance to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I think one thing Cody touched on is equality or inclusion in sports. And think about, when we all played sports, think about the locker room. A big part of sports is the camaraderie with your teammates in the locker room. And when you have a coach who's separating people like that, it just can't happen. All those comments, regardless of what people say, they're going to be in the back of people's minds. And you can't just go and play for a guy every Sunday, play for him every day with those in the back of your mind. It's just not going to happen. It's not going to work.
Right. I completely agree with everything you all just said. And what makes basically throw salt in the wound, as you all probably seen today earlier, that Carl Nassib actually requested a personal day today because of everything that transpired with John Gruden. So that just shows you that if they weren't going to fire him, he was going to lose the locker room, and the team would have been in a way worse situation than what it is currently. And as we all alluded to already, that they had such a promising looking season, and now it just looks like it's going to go down the drain. And it's unfortunate for the Raiders because this is a franchise that that has suffered for quite some time now. But it's at the end of the day, it had to be done.
Yeah, it is. If there is a silver lining out of this whole thing, it looks like they have a good shot at Bieniemy or another good head coach that can maybe reignite that locker room. The talent is there. They've showed that early on. Now is a good time to get a good, strong hire as a coach. I hope to God it's not Bieniemy. I don't want him to leave the Chiefs. But if they were to land somebody like him that can take that talent and maybe they all rally behind him, it may propel their season and something good come out of a bad situation.
Right. I think it's a crime that Eric Bieniemy isn't a head coach yet, man. I absolutely think
It's
that is a crime.
it's terrible.
It is.
I don't know. To be honest, though, I mean, it stinks for this season, but I don't think the Raiders organization is that upset about losing John Gruden. They gave him a 10-year contract as the GM and the coach, expecting him to come in and just turn that franchise around. And honestly, if you look the 3 years before he came in and the 3 years since, he hasn't improved anything. If they had that 12-4 season 2 years before he was there, and the first year there he was 4-12. I mean, I don't think the Raiders franchise is really in the long term fretting over this for him being gone. I think that really in the long term they're like, well, this might be better because they gave him a huge 10-year contract, and
Right. They gave him $100 million.
yep.
Right. I mean, I just don't, especially in that division, because the Chargers, I mean, Justin Herbert, as a Dolphin fan, it pains me to see him balling the way he balling, but he looks like a stud.
Especially since they
And
took Tua before him.
yes,
That does
man.
have to hurt.
We not gonna get into that because I wanted to draft me. You can ask anybody I know, man. I swear to y'all, I wanted to draft Herbert. I wanted to, but that's another topic for another day. And Herbert looks fantastic. The Chiefs are going to be the Chiefs. I know they're struggling right now, but when you got Patrick Mahomes, you're always going to have a chance every Sunday. And then the Denver Broncos, their defense looking like it's back to what it was a couple years ago. So they're in a tough out division. So right now, it's unfortunate for them.
Yeah, it is.
It's very unfortunate. And it's gonna be tough to turn this season back on the right path, honestly.
Right, I agree.
Yeah, it sounds like we all pretty much agree on this topic. T, what's your takeaway from week 5?
My biggest takeaway from week 5, I would have to say, outside of my own team, it got to be the Kansas City Chiefs, man. And I know a lot of people are telling them not to panic, but I think there's a little panic in there. And why? Is because they can't play defense and they can't run the ball. And when you can't stop anyone and when you can't control the time of possession, you're gonna lose a lot of games in this league, especially to good teams. As we all seen last week, I believe Patrick Mahomes had double the attempts that Josh Allen had, but he had less passing yards than him. I mean, whenever that happens, that's just a recipe for disaster. And to top it all off, their defense like is taking a step back. You know, they didn't get what they thought they were going to get out of Frank Clark when they signed him. Tyrann Mathieu isn't playing at the all-pro level that he once did. And then Chris Jones, I'm not even sure if he's playing this season. I mean, he's just been non-existent. So they're definitely hurting for me right now. But again, when you got 15 in the backfield, there's always a chance. But they have to be a little bit worrisome right now because just like I said with the Raiders, they're in a tough division, and the AFC has gotten better as a whole. So to me, that was the biggest takeaway of week 5.
Yeah, I think you're completely right. You said it best. When you have Mahomes in the backfield, there's no need to panic until it gets late in the year and the hopes of making the playoffs look grim. But they've definitely got to address some things. If they were in the NFC East or the AFC South, it would be a completely different conversation right now. You know, they'd be sitting pretty. But in this division that is shaping up to be a pretty good division when it looked like it was going to be one of the weaker ones, you can only lose so many more games. You addressed all the holes. The one you missed, and I'm the front runner of the GoFundMe to get rid of him. Daniel Sorensen is the worst safety in the league by far. And Kelsey,
I thought he was self-explanatory.
I think he is. I think anyone who's watched a Chiefs game knows. But yeah, I think they've got to get some things. Their defense got much better the second half of the year last year, but the problem was they were still winning games in the first half. So they got to hope their defense gets better while scraping out some wins here early. I know CEH is a very, very talented back, but I've always Williams has passed the eye test for me better than CEH has. I think he's more of a between the tackles runner, which is kind of what the Chiefs need, somebody to keep other teams true. So that might be, like I mentioned with the blessing in disguise earlier, that might be one for the Chiefs. having somebody who can run between the tackles a little better to make defenses play true. And Mahomes has still been one of the best quarterbacks in the league. He's made a few uncharacteristic mistakes earlier in the year, but I have full faith that he'll get things figured out. But there's also got to be some sort of panic with him on they have to score every drive. They have to. And he knows that. And so I think sometimes he tries to do just a little too much while still being a great quarterback.
Yeah.
I agree.
So really, watching the Chiefs-Bills game last week, it does kind of seem like they're pressing a little. The offense is pressing because they know they need to score. The main thing for them, they just need to get back to being patient on offense, control that time of possession, keep their defense off the field. You don't have to hit on the home run on every play. And I think if Mahomes gets back to basics like that, they'll win some more games. Use that tight end, use the run game because let's face it, every team they play against is playing two safeties deep. They're got 6 people in the box. They got to trust that run game, even if it is just 4 yards a carry. I think they've gotten away from themselves a little bit there, going back to the Super Bowl. So, I think they have holes that can be, not fixed, but the main thing they can fix is that offense controlling the time of possession, keep their defense off the field, and I think they'll be okay.
Yeah, you all touched on it. You talked about the defense. There's not a level of the defense that's playing well right now. The DBs are getting beat. The D line is not getting pressure. The linebackers are terrible in the run game. They're terrible at tackling. Daniel Sorensen might still be leading our team in tackles as bad as he is, and that's horrible when a safety's leading your team in tackles because that means they're getting to the third level every single time. Daniel Sorensen got burnt toast, cooked twice against the Bills this week. Within a 4-minute span, that deep ball, that double move by Stephon Diggs down the middle, and then the one on the right. There's not a level the defense is playing well. I saw a stat today that said longest streak of games in career where the defense allows 28 or more points. Patrick Mahomes has currently got 6 games in a row. Guys like Peyton Manning had 4 in 2001, Aaron Rodgers 4 in 2016, Drew Brees 3. It happened multiple times. Roethlisberger 2 multiple times, and Tom Brady happened twice in two in a row in 2018. Mahomes the Chiefs are allowed 28 more points in 6 straight games. That is insane. And these guys, it's never happened once in their career. So, the defense is terrible. That's about all you can say. And like Kyler said, the offense is pressing, trying to score every time. Mahomes said it without saying it last time. He said he's trying to hit the home run every single play after the game on Monday or Sunday night, and that's what he was saying. He's saying he's trying to score every time because he knows he has to score, and it's not looking good in Kansas City right now. My big takeaway is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens. One guy I think I've been pretty high on, Lamar Jackson. People have doubted him in the past because they say he can't throw the ball, whatever. You know how people are. They always have criticism for everyone. Lamar Jackson is an elite quarterback in the NFL, and if people still are questioning that after that amazing comeback, that was an historic comeback. 442 yards passing, 62 yards rushing, 4 touchdowns through the air. The dude is a stud in every sense of the word, and I think that I think if people are still doubting that, they're just not paying attention.
The thing
Right.
about Lamar for me, though, is how great he is with, in my mind, how little talent he has around him. Mark Andrews is pretty good. Marquise Brown is pretty good. They have no true number one running back. They have a plug-and-play offense when it comes to running because Lamar is such a threat that anybody that can take a handoff and run at a fairly decent speed is going to be somewhat successful. But, if they had a number one guy there, it would make him even more dynamic. So what he's doing with what he has is pretty darn impressive.
The thing about Lamar Jackson that impresses me the most is the fact that I have no idea why this whole concept came out about him not being a top 10 quarterback. I have no idea why people believe he isn't top 10. I have no idea why people are putting one good year seasons dudes over him because he's been consistent since he's been the starter, ever since he came in for Flacco. But my thing is, what I'm noticing is that he still doesn't have a true number one receiver.
No.
And I know you alluded to earlier saying that, Hollywood Brown, Marquise Brown is pretty good. I think he's a very good player, but he's not a number one. And
Not on most
that's no
teams.
knock. Exactly. That's no knock on him. He's still a good player. It's just that he's not the horse like a Devontae Adams or DeAndre Hopkins can be. And to me, that is what is really glaring for me in his game, is that he's being successful when his best receiving option is his tight end. And not only that, he himself is his best running option. So he is the offense. And to me, it's just astonishing that people continuously doubt him when he's done nothing but put his head down and work since he's been in the league.
I think
So
the thing most about him is there is only maybe two quarterbacks that could be successful as he is in that offense. Maybe Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes. Maybe, be as successful as he is. You plug a stationary quarterback in there, they're not having any success. He wills that offense.
A stationary quarterback in that offense wouldn't stand a chance. Now, I was a little bit critical of Lamar Jackson just because, obviously he's had great regular seasons. He's almost unstoppable at times, but he hadn't proven that he can beat people from the pocket in big games. He had fell short on that leading into this year. And there's a stat, he averaged 180 passing yards per game. That's a little bit skewed because of what he does in the run game. He doesn't have to throw for 300 yards a game. So that's a little bit of a skewed stat. If you were doubting Lamar at all before this season, you shouldn't be doubting him anymore. He doesn't have a number one receiver, but I will tell you what he does have in the passing game. He does have 7 or 8 people in the box because you have to put 7 or 8 people in the box to stop his running. So, seeing him, what he did the other night, he has taken the next step. He is an elite quarterback. And, because the Ravens are 4-1, they probably shouldn't be. They've been in some close games that they've escaped, and they escaped for the sole reason of Lamar Jackson and nobody else on that team. So Lamar deserves his credit. He has taken that next step. And, if he can stay healthy, and it seems like he's running less, which will, increase the longevity of his career, he's going to be around a while, and we're going to have to deal with him, and it's not fun to deal with him.
Yeah, the one thing that comes up to me about Hollywood Brown is he's not a number one receiver. I'm not arguing that. But the biggest help to Lamar Jackson's run game is somebody who can take the top off of a defense, and Hollywood Brown can do that about as well as anyone. So if you're going to put any number 2 wide receiver with Lamar Jackson, Hollywood Brown might be the best number 2 guy for him. But if he had a do-it-all receiver as a number 1, it would be very, very scary. Not that it's not already, but
agree.
Yep. All right, Kyler, what's your big takeaway from week 5?
My big takeaway is the Cardinals. So the Cardinals are 5-0. They've played some good teams. They've played some bad teams. But here's the thing that sticks out to me about the Cardinals, and something that I think translates well to playoff football. You have teams like the Browns and Chargers who are kind of just winning shootouts. They're not stopping anybody. But the Cardinals, one thing that they've proven that not a lot of other teams have, even the Bills maybe not have proven this, they can win slugfest and they can win shootouts. If they need their defense to step up and hold the other team to 17, 10 points or whatever, they can do it. They've beaten the Rams. They beat the 49ers back-to-back weeks, both divisional games. I am very impressed with the Cardinals. I have them number 1 in my power rankings for those reasons. And, I was critical of them up until last week, but the way they've won slugfest and the way they've won shootouts, that team is a team that can go far in playoff football with that. Because we all know, all these shootouts that happen right now, that's typically not what happens come playoff football. And these guys have proven they can do it.
Now, you guys know I've been high on the Cardinals all year. Kyler Murray is another stud quarterback. We saw glimpses of what the Cardinals could be last year, but they've got all these weapons on the outside now. Their defense is playing better. I think they're a very dangerous team.
agreed. They
I agree.
they were one of those teams when they were 2-0, 3-0. I was like, I still don't know. And then they beat the Rams, and then they won last week, and they're a legit team. They're well balanced. They do it on both ends of the ball. It's going to be hard for anyone to beat them.
I agree. And I just want to add a little bit of note in here, a little note. I think another disrespected person in the league, and you all are alluding to it by speaking so highly of the Cardinals, is Cliff Kingsbury. He is a guy that has been absolutely disrespected the past, I say, 2 years, because everyone questioned whether or not he was the guy for this job. Is he developing the players? Is he getting the right scheme, fit players, things of that nature? Well, they all seeing it come to fruition now because people fail to realize the Cardinals weren't a successful team the past 8 years before him, 6 years. Now that he's in the picture, you go get your quarterback. You knew Josh Rosen was in it. You go get your number one, DeAndre Hopkins. Then you go get a number two. You know you got agent Larry Fitzgerald. And then you improve your defense by adding such a versatile player in Isaiah Simmons. And then Buchanan is developing. Then Byron Murphy is developing. So it's like, I don't see why he was knocked so badly for being an okay or bad coach. Because what has he done wrong? He's put together a good team, especially in his division, which is by far the toughest division in football, by far. So I don't understand why he was so heavily criticized early in his career.
Yeah, I don't really see it on the Sports Center shows, the ESPN shows, nothing like that. But just by being on TikTok and being content creators on TikTok, when people talk about Cliff Kingsbury, I mean, they think he's one of the worst coaches in the league, and I just don't I don't know what makes them think that. They've been very successful since he's been around. I don't understand where this narrative comes from.
But
think a
not
lot of
even
the
just
criticism.
them. Oh, my
I think
apologies, man.
No, you're good. You're good. I was just gonna say I think a lot of the criticism came from because he wasn't uber successful at Texas Tech. He was honest; they weren't real great at Texas Tech, and the system that he ran at Texas Tech, they didn't know if it would translate to the NFL. Now, obviously, people are quick to jump the gun because obviously it's working. But I think that I think that's where the criticism came from was why are you hiring this guy out of Texas Tech who hasn't been successful here? Why would he be better successful in the NFL?
I mean, but the one thing you've seen that he could do is develop good quarterbacks. He had
Yep.
Baker at one point, and then Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
So that's the most important play on the team. I just don't understand the criticism. But you are correct, man. There's a lot of TikTok creators, content creators who say those things. But the guy that I was alluding to the most was Colin Cowherd, because he has been real critical of him for the past 2 seasons. I have no idea why. And I'm like, what else can he do for this team to show you that they're moving in the right direction? I mean, I just don't understand.
Yeah, and back to you talking about developing quarterbacks. When Kyler Murray came out, the decision was split on him on whether he'd be a good NFL quarterback or not. And the main talking point on him was he couldn't see over his offensive line. Well, he's the front runner for the MVP right now, so that he put that to rest too.
I think Colin Cowherd's a guy who just gets a narrative and likes to keep running with it. He gets people riled up, and he just keeps visiting that same narrative
He
just
gets
to
his
get.
views.
Yep, like the Baker Mayfield thing. He gets so many people riled up about Baker Mayfield, and it just gets him views
Yeah,
for it.
definitely.
I would say the one thing I'm worried about with the Cardinals is if Kyler said they're very balanced, they don't really have any running backs that I can rely on to run the ball 15, 20, 25 times if they did need that in a scenario. Other than that, their defense is playing great. They have all kinds of weapons on the outside. Kyler Murray looks great. I mean, I think there's big a threat as there is in the NFC.
I think the biggest
And
person to thank in this whole thing is Bill O'Brien for giving them D-Hop for nothing. That unleashes so much stuff in their offense. Sorry to interrupt, Kels, but
Hey, I completely agree with that. I told you guys when that trade went down, Bill O'Brien was intentionally blowing things in Houston. Like I don't know
Oh,
what he was doing up
he
there. He just
definitely
wanted to
was.
ruin it.
He definitely was. He got tired of Jack Easterby. That's what happened.
Yeah, and Houston was looking so good too, man. And talk about a shit like it just fell. Everything fell.
yeah, it fell
Oh
apart big
man.
time.
All right, so let's look forward to week 6. Cody, what you got looking forward to week 6?
Okay, so my thing is no offense to your Dolphins here, T, but the AFC South, the AFC South looks so bad right now, and that includes the Titans, who I think a team everyone thought would be. I mean, somebody out of that division's got to be a playoff team. It's Tennessee right now, but I also had Miami in that mix, and nobody really looks good in that division yet.
Miami's in the East.
In the
Oh, they
East.
are. Yeah. Duh. Well, then that makes it even easier for the Titans. But my thing this week, my takeaway for Week 6 is Buffalo, Tennessee, Monday night. There's no doubt Buffalo's legit, and I'm trying to figure out if Tennessee is just going to waste a spot in the playoffs because they're probably going to win that division, or whether they just got out to a slow start and this Monday night game will propel them. I love Derrick Henry. I could watch him run the football all day long. I hope he has a big night. You know, I backseat cheer for the Bills when they're playing everybody but the Chiefs. So I'm excited for this game. Two teams I like to watch. If Buffalo comes out and beats them by 30, you know, Buffalo's already established themselves as a Super Bowl caliber team. They're my number one team in the NFL right now. So this is a big game for Tennessee. Tennessee needs to win this game. They need to make a statement on Monday Night Football and show that they are maybe not a contender, but they are going to be a strong playoff team because they're not going to have much competition in that division.
Yeah, I pretty much agree with everything you said there. Titans can make a statement against the Bills. I do think both these teams are going to win their division when it comes down to it at the end of the season, but this is a big opportunity for the Titans. And the Bills can just keep reinforcing the fact that they're going to be the one seed in the AFC, and that's what it really comes down to for the Bills. They want everything to go through Buffalo come playoff time, and winning games like this is how you make sure that happens.
I agree. Well, the one thing I'm looking forward to next week, and I'm be honest, a little biased because I'm a Dolphins fan, so I'm focused on my team. But I'm looking forward to seeing the Dolphins go against the Jaguars because, like I told multiple people, if you lose to a team that's lost 20 straight games, Brian Flores, I love you, man. You've been doing pretty well so far, but it's time to start asking some tough, difficult questions.
Gotta
Because
go. Gotta go.
exactly at that point, no, that's inexcusable. Him and Chris Greer is gonna need to be switched. Stephen Ross need to make the call if that happens, because you can't do that. You just can't.
Well, I already knew you were a Dolphins fan, so when I was looking at Week 6, I looked at the matchup for they have. Now it's being played in London, which jet lag, everything else, playing at a different time of day. Anything can happen in those games, but this could also be a motivating game for the Dolphins. You got the Jags who've lost 20 straight. They come out, they click, they blow them out early, pick up a not necessarily a quality win, but a good win where they come out and they establish it from the start. It can be, that's like I said it just a little bit ago. It's a team I was high on going into this year. I thought they were going to do some things. They've looked unimpressive so far, but this could be a turnaround week for them. All is not lost yet with some of the struggles of the other AFC.
Yeah, when I look at the Dolphins, last year, they had a pretty good year compared, what projected. Thought they were maybe on the rise. They've dug themselves a pretty big hole this year. So, playoffs might not be on the horizon this season, but especially for Flores, what they need to prove that last year wasn't a fluke. That's really what he needs to work. And their defense, what's happened to their defense? That's what I want to know, because they're allowing 31 points a game, third most in the league, and last year they had a pretty good defense. So I know they lost Van Noy, and they lost a couple pieces. So they need to prove that last year wasn't a fluke, and get back to playing how they were last year.
Yeah, I agree.
You said it right there. That's exactly what happened. When you lose veteran presence, experience matters. That's the biggest reason why this defense looks dysfunctional now. There's no leaders.
Tyler, what are you looking forward to in Week 6?
Well, I'm looking forward. There's a couple things, but one of the things that stuck out to me, a couple teams on the fringe of the playoffs right now, Panthers and Bears, both sitting at 3-2. Panthers are coming off a disappointing loss to the Eagles, and no one really knew if they were for real yet. So I want to know if the Panthers are for real, and coming off a loss, facing some adversity. Let's see how they rebound. And the Bears. Bears are starting to look a little bit better. We know what they bring on the defensive side of the ball. They have a pretty solid defense. My question is, is Justin Fields the answer? Is he going to be, a quarterback that can lead to the playoffs? They get the Packers at home this week. It's a divisional game. It's a good chance for them to prove that maybe they will be a contender for the playoffs this year. And what looked like was going to be just another real rough year for the Bears.
Yeah, so that's
Agreed.
funny. My look forward to in week 6 was gonna be that Vikings-Panthers game because I think they're 2 teams. I don't think that the Vikings are necessarily in the middle of the playoff hunt, but I think they're a team that we all believe could climb back into that playoff hunt. I think we all believe they're a capable team. They've lost some unfortunate games, and the Panthers started out hot and haven't looked so great the last couple weeks. How are them two who's gonna win that game, and how are those 2 teams gonna look going forward? So I think we're on the same page there. The Bears have been surprising. Justin Fields, since he took over, the Bears have looked better. I don't know if it's because of Justin Fields. I don't know if it's because he's just handled I don't know why. I don't have a good reason why, because the offense hasn't looked especially great with Justin Fields yet. Although I've been a big advocate for Justin Fields. I'm not
And
not
you
gonna act like
both.
I told you so yet. But the Bears have definitely looked better since he's been under center.
I'm a huge Justin Fields fan. I love him coming out of Ohio State.
Yeah, I've been big on Justin Fields, and the 2 below us have been big on Andy Dalton being the guy all year this year. But I don't know if I can say I told you so yet because I don't know if it's all because of Justin Fields yet or not.
I
Yeah,
think Justin Fields will be a good NFL quarterback at some point in time. I was just saying I think this year Andy Dalton was the right choice, but I may stand corrected in a week or two.
And
yeah.
the thing about Justin Fields is he doesn't have to be super special. They have a good defense. Use those legs, don't turn the ball over, and trust that defense, and you can get into the playoffs.
All right, so we've been focusing on NFL for the last 6 weeks. We haven't really taken our topics anywhere else because we all know we're big NFL fans. But some news out of the NBA this week: Kyrie Irving, the Nets informed him that he will not be playing with the team until he is approved to play every game, more or less telling him to go get a vaccine. Kyrie is saying he's not going to do that, saying that he is willing on holding out. I even heard some retirement talks. I don't know if that came from Kyrie or if that came from just people talking. What's your guys' thoughts on that?
I saw a bunch of reports on Twitter this morning saying that sources from him that he plans to retire if forced to take the vaccination. Um, but then I got to looking at it, and it wasn't no Adam Schefter type people, so it's hard to say whether that's really being. I know he said publicly he'll do it before. Um, it's one of those things. I am very pro-choice vaccine. If you want to be, I don't think anybody should be forced to take it. My takeaway from it is it's Kyrie at the front of another more drama. That's what I take away. I'm critical of Kyrie. I don't like Kyrie. I don't know. I'm thankful for the shot he hit in 2016. That's about all the good I can say about Kyrie. Drama always finds him in some way or another. It sucks that he has to take a vaccine that he may not trust, and I can understand him not trusting the vaccine. I get that side of it. And I'm not saying I disagree with his decision not to take it. It just comes back to, once again, it's Kyrie in the middle of drama for me, whether it be the earth is flat, a vaccine, whatever it may be with him. Wasn't the number one guy in Cleveland, all that talk. It always circles back to Kyrie being Kyrie.
Right. I completely agree with you, man. At the end of the day, Kyrie is one of the best offensive players this game has ever seen. If you need a jumper, he could give you that. You need a basket to finish at the rim, he could give you that. Great free throw shooter. In fact, this last season, he had a 50, 40, 90 season. Only literally a handful of guys in the league has done that in the history of the game. So we all know the talent he possesses and the player he can be. But it's just like what you said. The locker room issues and the disgruntlement that he has caused, it is a real issue. And it's starting to be shown everywhere he goes. And my whole thing about it is he wasn't always this way. And this what makes it kind of questioning because his first, I say 4 years in the league, 4 or 5 years, he seemed to be a humble dude, just stuck his head down and put in work where he needed to. Now, granted, he did battle a lot of injuries, as he still do, but he was never this out in the open when it comes to the media and being so vocal about his opinion. Not to say that's a bad thing because I'm all for speaking your mind. And in fact, I support him 1,000% for not wanting to get vaccinated. But at the end of the day, you are correct. He's always behind or in front of something that's creating drama for his respected organization. And at some point, it's just unacceptable.
Agreed.
Yeah, and I think like you said, he wasn't like this. He didn't used to always be like this, you know. The shot he hit in 2016, although I loved it, I think that was part of, that was where the turning point kind of was. And, for all these distractions, I think the way he's getting talked about right now is kind of unfair to him because if I'm pro-choice as well. And I think it's unfair that they're forcing people to get vaccines. And, we won't get into that, but I think some of this criticism right now is unfair. But then again, all his issues in the past are kind of contributing to that. Had he not had those issues in the past, I don't think this would be as big of a deal.
Yeah, if this was Kevin Durant saying something like this, nobody'd think anything about it. All Kevin Durant does.
Might be the wrong guy to name.
Well,
because he's kind of got a history of his own.
But
he got a history himself.
That's only
he will get some backlash.
That's only defending himself or burner accounts or whatnot. He's never it's never anything outside of his own play. You know what I mean?
Well, so him and Draymond got into it a little bit in Golden State.
So you're right. Maybe Durant wasn't the perfect thing.
JJ Redick, maybe compare him to him, my guy.
Yeah, your fellow Dookie there.
He's just retired this year too.
Yeah.
His
playoff streak ended.
Yeah, without going too deep into getting vaccinated, not getting vaccinated, you guys hit the nail on the. I mean, he's just always an issue. Kyrie isn't always an issue. It's funny because there was a time when you guys loved Kyrie in Cleveland because of everything he did, and you guys compared him to great point guards. And then after he left Cleveland, I was the one who stuck up for him because you guys were tired of his BS. And at this point now, everyone's just tired of his BS. Like, he just does it to himself at this point. You're just a distraction, man. Like, the Nets need to be focused on the season, and they're focused on whether or not Kyrie Irving's allowed to play, or what games he can play, what games he can, or can he practice, or it's just it's not the same thing. It's the John Gruden thing all over again. You're just a distraction. Just quit being a distraction and play the game. They're two completely different subjects, yes, but it's the same issue.
And this is sad, but I think it's true in that it has nothing to do with Kyrie's ability on the basketball court, but his trade value right now is nothing. His trade value is only going to be based on what state the team is located in, and whether he'll be able to play games at home or not. And so that's unfair to Kyrie. It's unfair to the Nets too, really. But they're losing out. In the NBA, if he retires, his salary comes off the books, right?
Yeah.
So they could potentially go out and use his salary to get somebody to try to fill that hole, which they're deep enough. I think they'll be okay. But it's one of those things that, he was brought in to be the second or third best player on that team, and they're not even going to get to use him all because of something that is completely un-basketball related, and not necessarily something negative related like domestic abuse or something like that the NFL deals with. It's a pro-choice thing that is going to keep him out of the season, hurt the Nets in the long run. It just sucks all around. It sucks for Kyrie. It sucks for the Nets. It sucks for the NBA.
Right. And just to add on with what you were saying, I just wanted to be understood that this isn't just him being, blasphemous or an idiot or whatever the case may be, whatever people may think of him. Because I don't think he's being idiotic at all.
No.
He has every right to choose whether or not he wants to take the vaccine or not. That's his choice. But the thing that we're all saying here is the fact that as it has to come a point where you make a choice. It's either you're not going to do it, or you're going to slip and walk away from the game, or you're going to, understand it's a business and you have to do what you have to do for the sake of the business and just, take the vaccine. But regardless of whatever choice he makes, I believe it'll be the best choice for him. And that's one thing I think Kyrie always holds to himself, is that he's going to make the best choice for himself, which, again, I don't disagree with.
No, not at all.
And if I'm the Nets, yeah, losing a player of Kyrie's, skill level is huge. But if there's a team in the NBA that can withstand that, it's Kevin Durant and James Harden. I think the Nets are going to be just fine and still compete for a title. So if
Yeah,
you're the
they'll-
Nets, I'm really not that worried. Let him make his choice.
Yeah, without Kyrie, I still put the Nets number 1 in the East, even with
I
the
think
Bucks
most
coming
people
off
would
of
with Durant and
championship
Harden.
win. Yeah, you got two players like
If they're healthy, they.
I mean,
they are still-
they almost beat the eventual NBA champs last year without Kyrie or Harden. I'm not saying they would have with them, but I mean, they're obviously right there.
only Durant wore a size 15.
All right, on that note, this feels almost like a crime because the guy who's missing only wants to talk baseball, but MLB playoffs are going on. Kyler's Atlanta Braves advance the NLCS. Who's going to be facing the Braves, Kyler?
Man, I hope it's the Giants, because I think the Braves actually have a chance to beat them, because they don't have Walker Buehler. They don't have 5 Cy Young Award winners to throw at you. And the Giants are a great team. They've had a great season. The names just don't jump off the page at you. So the Giants, I hope, but I think Game 5's tomorrow night. Should be a pretty fun game to watch, even though it's baseball. I sat down and watched the Braves Brewers game yesterday, and that was one of the funnest baseball games I've watched in a long time.
Yeah,
The Brewers scored 2, the Braves matched it. And then hats off to Freddie Freeman. He hits a game-winning home run in the 8th inning. One of the great guys in baseball. Has worked hard. Freddie had his moment yesterday, and that was really fun to see.
Freddie's a guy you can't not like. I don't care what team you root for. Can't not like Freddie Freeman. The thing about the Giants, though, Kai, is everyone's been saying since April 1st, the Giants are going to cool off. The Giants are going to cool off. They don't have the names. They're going to cool off, and they haven't yet.
They're a great team.
Yeah,
sure.
When it comes to hopeful playoff series, you want to play the Giants, but either team is going to be a tremendous matchup. But I don't think the Braves are out of it, either team they play. I think they have a just as good a chance playing the Braves or the Giants or the Dodgers. It's going to be fun to watch. I've said this before. When the Cubs are doing well, I'm as into baseball as you can be. I watch every game I can. About mid-May, early June, or late May, early June, when they tanked, my interest in baseball kind of goes down a little bit. We're getting into football season. Some off-season basketball stuff goes on, so I pay less attention. But there is not much better in sports other than playoff baseball. The atmosphere in Atlanta proved that yesterday. When the Brewers brought in their relief pitcher, they cut the lights. Everyone's got their cell phones out doing the tomahawk chop. You only get that in playoff atmosphere in sports. It was awesome. So I'm excited to see where these playoffs go. And that's it. It's fun to watch. No matter if you're a fan of baseball or not, a fan of a team playing or not, it's enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, so what I'm taking from here is Astros and Dodgers in the World Series.
Boo the Astros. So I want to ask something real quick since we got to talk about basketball. We got a couple minutes left. I want right here, I'm going to clip it and put it on TikTok. I want everybody's pick from the Eastern and Western Conference in the NBA to go to the finals.
Ooh, okay. 2 early predictions.
You lead us off, bud. You take it first.
All right, okay. So coming out the East, this may be unpopular because, I know you all speak highly of the Nets, but I think the Bucks are going to go back to the finals. I think them adding Grayson Allen from the Memphis Grizzlies, I think that it was huge for them. They needed more floor spaces. I think Giannis always plays with a chip on his shoulder. He's a guy who always looks to prove something. Regardless of what he achieves, he looks to get better at his game. I think Chris Middleton is one of the most underrated players in the league. And I absolutely love Drew Holiday, man, as a player. He is the underrated hero in that final series, this series against the Nets. He made a lot of game-winning plays in both series. And I think it's a crime that he hasn't been an all-star consecutively in his career. And for the West, I'm going to go with the Lakers strictly from a talent perspective. I think outside of maybe the Nuggets if healthy, and maybe the Clippers if healthy, I think their talent and skill set across the board is just too much for almost any team out west.
Um, I agree with you. I think the Bucks are a very good choice. I think the Nets are a very good choice with or without Kyrie. Uh, my dark horse for the East is the Heat. Dragic
I'm
is
glad to hear
capable.
that.
Dragic is very capable, but he's getting old. I think he's up there in his mid-30s now. So the addition of Kyle Lowry, another guy who's so underrated, it's not even funny. I think he'll bring some stability that Jimmy Bucket's already brought to the team. But like we were talking about in the NFL with veteran experience, Lowry's been there, done that. He's won it. He brings that to the Heat. I think the Heat underachieved last year. I was high on them going into the playoffs, and they wildly underperformed. So my pick is going to be Miami out of the East, but I think Milwaukee and Brooklyn are right there. I mean, I couldn't pick one if I had to bet on it. Then we're talking about the West. The Lakers, the names jump off the page at you. They have so much star power. 5 years ago, that team has a chance to go, 75-7 or something like that. But they are getting older. LeBron looked like he regressed a little bit. Melo revitalized his career in Portland, but he's still not the New York Knicks Melo, the Denver Nuggets Melo. Russ, there's not many bigger Russ fans out there than me, but he hasn't proven that he's a winner yet. And AD's always hurt. So if they can put that together, if they can find some cohesion, keep LeBron's minutes down with some of the depth they have, I'm picking the Lakers. I think you're right with the Nuggets. If they can hang around until Jamal Murray gets back, if they can hang on to like a 4 or 5 seed until he gets back, I think they take another leap forward this year and make a case for it. And then the Clippers are just, they've got talent, everywhere, oozing out of their rosters. So they're another solid pick. But I'm gonna go Heat Lakers rematch from 2.
I like the Bucks pick. I'm going with the Bucks out of the East as well. You shouted out my guy Grayson Allen as well, and but again, Drew Holiday, just like you said, the X factor, one of the if not the most underrated players in the NBA. The Bucks figured out how to win in the playoffs last year, and you don't forget that. They figured it out. You saw them grow up in the playoffs last year. I think they get it done again. I just can't trust Durant and Harden to stay healthy enough. And, even if Kyrie does end up playing, him as well. And out of the West, I'm going with the Lakers. I think Russ, is the perfect fit for this team. You already have winners on that team that Russ kind of lacks, but Russ brings the energy every night. And that's what the Lakers were missing 100%.
And
Their guys were old. They didn't have the energy. Russ brings that energy to the arena.
And that's something LeBron can't do anymore. LeBron's always been a guy who brings his A game every single night, except for the series against the Mavericks in the finals. But LeBron's always been the energy guy and the leader and the best player, which is hard to do. And now he doesn't have to be that guy anymore at the age that he's at. Russ brings that energy every single night. And he can really motivate some of those other guys too.
Yeah, and to that reason, I think that's why Russell Westbrook's the biggest compliment to LeBron that you can bring in at this time. He's going to take so much of the load off of him.
Yeah, I pretty much am just going to reiterate everything you guys said. There's no reason why the Lakers shouldn't be in the finals this year. the talent they have, Russell Westbrook being added, that guy, the amount of talent the Lakers have should decrease the amount of energy LeBron has to spend per night by 50%. Like he should be healthy. Anthony Davis should be able to stay healthy during the season. Now, I'm sure he'll find a way to get hurt, but the Lakers should be healthy come playoff time, should be ready to play. There's no reason why the Lakers shouldn't be in the finals this year. And in the East, I'm going to be the one who takes the Nets here. I mean, you guys aren't wrong about the Bucks. The Bucks found a way to win last year, and Giannis is when Giannis gets going, Giannis is as unstoppable as it gets. But I still think Kevin Durant's the best player in the NBA. I still think James Harden is a top 5-10 player in the NBA. That they have a ton of talent on that team as well. They just have to stay healthy, I think, and they'll be the favorites out of the East. But the Bucks, I mean, are right there.
Sorry to the Phoenix Suns. It pains me to say it, Chris Paul. You're probably not going to get a ring unless you go join the Lakers.
Man,
But
I know he was hurting after that, man.
yeah, that was rough
It
on
was
me.
rough to watch the game end, and I'm not even a huge Chris Paul guy, but it was rough to watch him at the end of that game, man.
He knew that was his chance. He knew
If-
that was it. It was all on the
Yeah,
line right there. And
You right about it. He definitely knew, man. You're not gonna have the benefit of playing 3 hurt teams in the playoffs again. You're not gonna have that. I mean, the Lakers, AD was hurt, Bron playing hurt, then the Nuggets, Jamal Murray was out for the season, and then you went to the Clippers, Kawhi Leonard hurt. I mean, the Suns got really fortunate, man, and they just couldn't withhold it.
Going into it, I was like, man, this is the perfect storm this is 2011 Dirk Nowitzki right here for Chris Paul, and the Bucks beat the Nets, and if he didn't get it done last year, it pains me to say I don't think he's going to get it done.
Yeah.
Couldn't capitalize. Plain and simple.
All right, I think that'll wrap it up for today. Thank you for coming on today, T. We had fun. As always, you're one of our biggest commenters on TikTok, so we'll keep in touch for sure, and maybe get you back on here some other time. As always,
Right.
thanks for listening. Sorry, cut you
No,
off.
you good, man. I just want to thank y'all again for allowing me to be on with y'all. I had a great time. Hopefully, we could do it again sometime.
for sure.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. As always, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Thanks for listening. Go subscribe, go listen, go like, go share everything that Carl ever says, and make sure to tell your grandma.